From Studio 226 in Orlando, this is Aging Smarter. Aging Smarter is a podcast focusing on making it easier to grow older and to prepare for the future at any age. We aim to educate, entertain, prepare, and amaze you about your life's journey, regardless of how old you are. I'm your host, retired and former circuit judge, Jose Rodriguez. Today, we are joined by a very dear friend and someone with whom I had the pleasure and privilege of working 3 years out of the last 4 that I was sitting on the bench before my retirement. So please welcome Wynter Solomon. Wynter, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh gosh.
Where do you begin? How about what do you do for the courts at this point besides everything imaginable and unimaginable?
I am the program coordinator for the Guardianship program in Orange and Osceola County. And
Because that comprises the Ninth Circuit.
yes, it does. And in that role, I conduct investigation.
Tell me a little bit about your investigation background, because I know you are a really good investigator. I experienced benefit of having you at my side as a judge, and boy, did you go out there and turn things around.
Well, I think my investigative experience actually started a long time ago. First job, I was a probation officer.
Aha.
So there's a bit of investigation that when people aren't in their
When they
supposed to do.
break probation, sure.
And
Because eventually you're going to wind up having to be a witness in court when someone violates their probation and they challenge you.
yes. And then I worked for DCF at Economic Services. And
What is that?
Economic Services, when they get food stamps, Medicaid, all of those sorts of things. And so I actually did do a little bit of investigating. I was in Economic Services. But the majority of my experience comes from when I worked with DCF. Yeah.
So Department of Children and Families and Seminole
County Sheriff's Office.
Sheriff's Office.
Child
where the-
Protective Investigation. Yeah.
Aha.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did being an investigator for protective services assist you in the job? Notice, I know the answer to that question. It had to have absolutely formed you into the keen investigator that you are, as well as learning the ropes and all of the different, how should I say, subterranean ways that you could get your information.
Yes, it really, really did. Working at DCF taught me a lot, but working at the Sheriff's Office taught me
Even more.
Yes, because working at the Sheriff's Office, we did a dual response. So we went out as child protective investigators, went out together with a sworn officer, and we did investigations together. Oftentimes there were things that I could ask as a protective investigator that law enforcement
Couldn't.
And so it just gave me more of an in about what to do and how to get things and how servants need to be.
Well, one of the things that I know about you as a program coordinator is that you absolutely go out there and teach. You get law enforcement together and you basically make sure that law enforcement knows that cases of elder abuse, elder exploitation are important enough to get their attention and are important enough for them to forward to the state attorney for prosecution.
Yes, well, I teach CIT,
And CIT is
critical incident training.
critical incident training means
For when law enforcement goes out on a scene and if they encounter maybe somebody who's elderly who has dementia, how do you handle that person? Or maybe somebody developmentally disabled. And
so it's kind of like an airport.
yeah,
You teach the approach. You're pretty much on the tower.
right. And
Right.
I tell them what guardianship is so that if they go out many times, so they will encounter someone who says, well, I'm this person's guardian. And the person who is supposedly the guardian doesn't have any paperwork And this other person who is supposed to be in the guardianship is 30 years old. And the parent is saying, well, I'm his guardian and he won't do what I say. And I teach them what to look for
And what role.
and what role.
They're not to be the parent.
Exactly.
They're not there for discipline. They're there for law enforcement.
Exactly. And so I go through that with them. And I also do some things that kind of help, I hope, give them some insight into what it's like to be an elderly person who may have cataracts or may have arthritis or may have cataract and arthritis and
Yikes.
that type of thing. So because I have kids, we have little kids that I borrow from Orange County that have
Council on Aging?
yes.
Mimi?
Yes.
Our friend
Exactly.
Mimi.
Well, Mimi's not there
I know.
anymore,
But it's her
Carla
legacy.
is. It's her legacy. And it has pill bottles with different colored pills in it. And I will have them put on their glasses that mimic cataract and their gloves that mimic arthritis. And then they've got to take out the pills and separate the white from the yellow and blue from green. And
So you're basically teaching them
yes,
to be in the shoes of the individual that they are. Oh, wow.
that they're out there trying to assist. And I'm trying to tell them when you meet somebody who's elderly, it may not just be a dementia thing. It may be an arthritis thing. It may be a thing where they're not taking their medication properly because they can't see, they can't tell that this yellow one is not actually yellow. It may be white or this white one may be yellow.
But the cataract,
But
yellowing of the lens interacts.
Right, exactly. And so they may be taking their medications incorrectly. And all of those things affect how a person behaves and what goes.
Let's take a look at a case, say, for example, that you have, and one of the family members tells you the guardian of this ward or the person under guardianship is taking the money. What do you do when you get a letter of that type? How do you jump into action?
Well, if they're under guardianship and I get that letter, I will always forward that letter to court, but I also file it in the court file. It is up to the court whether or not I'm appointed. If I'm appointed to the case, then generally the first thing I would do is freeze the bank account because.
And how do you freeze it? You frozen.
I get an order from the court.
Okay.
And that will freeze the bank account so that no funds are coming out of the account. And then that way, if there is anything that's being done that shouldn't be being done, in other words, Joe is taking Sue's money and, he's just taking it and he went and bought himself a villa in Italy.
For the girlfriend.
Yes.
Oh, do I remember that case?
Yeah.
And two BMWs?
Yes. The Batwing BMW.
Yeah.
Yes. And when they wouldn't even spend 99 cents on a broom.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember.
Yes. So when that
boy, you bring back old memories.
Yeah. We can stop that right at that.
I remember, well, I'm not going into some things remain in the memory. So what about the gift of $5,000 to buy a piano? Would that, if person did not have the donative intent?
If they didn't have that
or the capacity
to make that gift, then that money has to be given back. We actually did that. I referred that case to the sheriff's office, and we're actually able to.
You know what? I think what worked in the case was, being Latin and Catholic and speaking totally from the heart. I think it was good. think the person felt guilty. He accepted $5,000 from an elderly lady for his daughter to buy it. Be able to grandparents.
Yeah.
And sweet. But it wouldn't have been possible if you hadn't been the connection that basically brought it to mind to that individual. This woman was in dire straits financially. She couldn't afford. She gifted. Wow. Along with that type of investigation for the courts to inhibit, to delay, to make sure that there is surcharge, those payments that are made that are inappropriate. What else do you do? Tell me about the multidisciplinary task you are. From the way I see it, you are the absolute chief of, or the, let me put it in a different way. You are the head of the conga line in that conga.
Well, the multidisciplinary task force is a conglomeration of people or entities.
And it's also
actually
pretty new in the law. And not every circuit, not every geographical area has one.
You're right. The first one that I ever went to was, and I went for probably at least a decade, was in Seminole County. The Seminole County Sheriff's Office and State Attorney's Office headed one. But it kind of, I guess, fell apart around just before COVID. And after COVID was done, or when it was beginning to wane, we started one here in Orange County. And so part of the aim with the MPT is to teach. Okay, a lot of times it's about who you know, contacts you need to make when different situations come up. And it's also
And
about,
let me say, as far as contacts in this neighborhood, you've got more contacts and more connections than AT&T. Okay?
well, I think that's all because of the MDT.
Well, it's also because of the fact that you have been in your career through so many trainings, and the way that you give back with the trainings that you do, how you reach out to law enforcement, just as you mentioned here, to teach them about what guardianship is and how to be, excuse the expression, on guard when someone is trying to fool law enforcement about whether or not they're really the guardians because they're trying to do a take on the individual.
Yes. Well, and a lot of times
You've
law
done a lot of
enforcement,
good,
yeah,
and I think that's what's gotten you where you are.
I hope so. I want to do good, but I want to leave things better than they were when I came. And I do want to try to educate people and make it easier for law enforcement to get the contact and things that they need. Because if they're having an issue, or if I'm having an issue, my issue has to be, here's just magnified by 10 times because they're out on the road and having to deal with it. Dangerous. Right, exactly. So I always try to do whatever I can to help them so that they know where to go. And if they don't know where to go, they can call me and I can say, hey, try calling this person or consider doing that.
And with a multidisciplinary task force, what you wind up doing is there are times we haven't had any, or haven't had any recent
We haven't had any
fatalities. And then what they are, what the MDT, Multidisciplinary Task Force, is supposed to do is supposed to review elderly fatalities. And then what do we do?
And then what do we do? It's based on what comes out of those meetings. But we haven't had any fatalities, and we've been very blessed about that.
If there is a
fatality, then we will put everyone together to review that. but we
And we
have,
write a report.
yes,
Every September 1st, a report is due.
right.
And it goes to
It, I believe, goes to
the legislature.
For
And
that.
then-
But we
And we make recommendations.
right. But we haven't had any, fortunately.
Right.
We have staffed some cases, but we left.
See, the neat thing I think about the MDT is that it has a direct relationship with the legislature to make changes, to make improvements in the system.
Yes.
And again, that I think is critical. You're the head of that. So I think, again, based on your investigative background, based on your success returning money, oh my gosh, I seem to remember a time where you were involved in a case dealing with something that was out of the ordinary. You specialize on solving stuff out of the ordinary. It was a workers' comp case. And up to that point, we had never had a workers' comp case where somebody did not create a guardianship, because the statute in workers' comp basically says you may, and the lawyers may, for when there's a minor, a benefit that went to a minor. Say, for example, in this case, it was a death benefit that went to the minor, but the minor needed to have a minor guardianship established. Instead, the lawyers gave the money to the mother.
Yes.
And instead of creating a guardianship, because they thought the guardianship was, well, not mandatory, it was discretionary.
Right.
What they found out later on, they got sued, was that even though it says may, children, if the money is misused by the guardian to whom they give the money, the children are of a lawsuit against them.
Yes.
So tell me, how did you figure out that there was an issue that needed to be investigated here?
Well, generally, when I get appointed to a case or I become involved in a case, because of the clerk of the court, something isn't filed in a timely manner or not filed at all. Usually the annual accounting.
Right.
And then the clerk's office will alert the court.
There's the statutory responsibility. They've
Yes.
got to go ahead and request an order to show cause.
Yes. And so then the court will, if they find that there's sufficient ground.
Probable cause.
Yeah.
And then you go ahead and you investigate.
Yeah.
Tell me about the case that I was talking about with the workers' comp. How did that feel? Because I think, to me, I did not think it was possible for workers' comp to be involved, but oh yes, it was.
Yes, it was. It was not just workers' comp, but it was also personal injury. And
because it was a death benefit for the father.
right, it was a death benefit, personal injury fund, and then there were also funds for Social Security.
About $95,000.
Yeah, altogether, what was taken was roughly $186,000.
95 for one of the kids. And
Yes.
the other, okay. I remember now. So tell me, what does Harley Davidson have to do with this case? Folks, what we're doing is, this is a memoir episode of Aging Smarter. And what you can basically take from this is that there are people watching out for young kids who have money coming to them, whose parents take it, and, well, when the kids are 15 and 16 and not of driving age, they're going out there and buying a couple of Harley Davids. Jet skis and wine.
He had life of such.
Yep. And fixed her house.
She bought sex.
Yeah, all kinds of indiscreet purchases.
Yeah.
But what can I say? And some of them were purple. What I remember from the photograph.
It was purple.
Never seen one of those. This is getting. But the important thing was that the kids were represented, and eventually they received that money. The best thing that you did was you taught those lawyers that when they had a workers' comp settlement for a child because a parent has died as a result of a work injury, that a guardianship for the minor needed to be petitioned.
Yes, and those funds go
And for the child.
Right. So, yes.
That was the best teaching that you did. You know, quite frankly, that personal injury firm was a really good, tough, well-respected personal injury firm. So if they missed it, imagine what could happen.
Yeah. And they got to start.
They actually,
Pursuit, yeah. Pursuit, yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you, because while I was a judge back in 2015, 16, and 17 on the guardianship and probate division, you made my work very easy.
Oh,
I continue to work with you because of, not just out of a respect for you, but also an awe that you are so tremendously talented. And where you go, you just call your loyal Fido Rodriguez and I will follow. Thank you. Thank you for, again, gracing us in this episode of Aging Smarter. We want to go ahead and thank you all for tuning in and listening. We hope you will give us a thumbs up, subscribe so that you can hear future episodes. Just kind of taken because of all the memoir and the memories of, again, a successful, making sure that this place of ours, this community of ours, is a better. I want to thank, more than anything, our absolutely Emmy-winning showrunner, Art Miles, without whom this podcast and all other podcasts of Aging Smarter would not be possible. I also want to say this is not legal advice. This is basically, and it's not intended to create an attorney-client relationship. This is basically an outing of how you can do better, how you can learn, and how there are institutions out there to assist you in the event that you continue to age smooth. Till next time, I'm your host, Jose R. Rodriguez. Thanks to Jonathan M. for this up here, I mean the haircut, without whom, again, Jonathan M. is my guru, my hair and beard guru, and he is at Fairbanks, the Floyd's Barbershop on Fairbanks. Thank you, Jonathan. And thank you to Annie Newbern for the logo designs. And see you next time.